All right, welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. It's time for Iron Politics. Welcome back. David in studio said that he's seeing some good future ahead of him, the biblical David in the Bible. I don't know how this is going to pan out. It's interesting, David, but please, if something happens, do not forget me in your kingdom.
I will not.
That is an plea. Wakili Gibson Gesore, karibu sana to the program.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. We're just taking a look at what we have on the front page very quickly for the benefit of you getting also to that. Tough times push 70,000 out of jobs. That's according to FKE. He says FKE says that there's because of economic challenge, and now employers have been shedding workers in last 1 year as they grapple with high cost of doing business. And so far, over 40% say they expect to trim their workforces further. We thought that we were trying to heal from the post-COVID pandemic and whatever people faced. A lot of business closed shop, no doubt about that. That was global. But then now, we thought they were going to have some fresh air out of this. But it seems the bad smell is not going away from us.
It's not, Victor, and it's very unfortunate for this country.
Yeah.
Because you look at the situation, especially with the flooding, even before we come to the shedding of jobs, the flooding is really affecting people. There are whole towns underwater, suffering, and nobody's, Red Cross does not have the capacity. I'm not seeing the Ministry of Internal Security or the government do much to help these people. But so the PS internal is telling these people, you know, the best you can do right now is if you are in a town which is underwater, run to the hills and stay there so that we can evacuate you from the hills. But imagine these are all town underwater.
Yeah.
There could be no hill around. So you can imagine that these people are totally marooned. Their lives have been destroyed. I mean, it's not only in Kenya that these floods are happening, also even in Saudi Arabia, even camels being swept away by water in the desert. So the situation is getting worse in the region. I think this is something we ought to have been prepared better. Because we expected it, but now being caught off guard while we expected it, it really calls for concerted effort, calls for government to always be on the lookout and watchful for issues like this, so that they can be able to mitigate them in good time, so that they can be there are early warning signs which people should be warned that, you know, water is going to be coming these sides. Kindly make arrangements. You know, with such a communication, especially from government officials, somebody is well prepared and actually knows what they are expected to do.
Yeah.
Not that when they are underwater is when you are telling them swim away to the hills, and that is not a very good way. Coming to the issue of the economy, which we have just talked about, we do expect that this economy should be able to pick up. And that is the hope we have been sold right from before elections, when the campaigns were ongoing. But seemingly that script has continuously kept changing, and the reality on the ground has also been shifting very fast. We had COVID, which of course everybody expected that challenges were there, but now we are sinking back to the position when COVID was happening, and for no clear reason. But for Kenya, it's very clear, is because that we had an election, and then we have very poor management of our finances. What we should be expecting now is government engaging in stimulus package, especially to lift to give some package to industries which have employed people, and to, of course, encourage more employment. But instead, government is going on with a very hard kick to ensure that they collect every penny which is on offer, and even which is not even on offer, which is in people's pocket. So it's like they usually say they are robbing everybody blind. So when such a situation happens, especially to the manufacturers, the best thing they do is they find out very wise means of managing. They fire staff, they register their companies, they move them from Kenya to tax havens where they are not going to be taxed. So a company is based in Kenya, as their plant in Kenya, but they register in a tax haven where they will not be entitled to pay some certain taxes. And that, of course, makes Kenya lose, and it loses big time. So some of the things I expect the government to initiate very concise discussions with the FKE and anybody who employs to ensure that they get some certain benefits, to get some certain waivers, so that they retain these people on the job. Because if this trend continues for some time, we are going to have so many people are jobless, and you know that is a very big risk to the economy, because these people will either be thieves, will end up being in the streets. Just I think last week I was along Parliament Road, and it was around 7 at night, and I saw somebody on a boda trying to snatch a phone from a person who was a passenger who was moving back. So that tells you that even in the CBD, you do not expect at Parliament Road to have such a mugging. I was shocked.
That's like a barracks.
Yes, it's that bad, and this is going to continue. We have this situation, so something we need to work around.
Gentlemen, I'm going to pass the 3 pages because the 3 papers, but very quickly for the benefit. Okay, I don't know what my Kamba friend will tell me. Benefit. Okay. All right. So let's talk about what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. Talks report split Azimio. Talks report splits Azimio. President William Ruto has welcomed the findings of the team. And so the issue here is the cost of living. A day after the bipartisan talks team set up by President William Ruto and opposition chief Raila Odinga presented its recommendations, divisions have erupted in Mr. Odinga's Azimio camp, with the NARC Kenya leader Martha Karua and DAP Kenya's Eugene Wamalwa rejecting the report and the proposals for failing to tackle the high cost of living. That is also on the front page of the Daily Nation as we speak. That is, we have got former President Uhuru Kenyatta, Martha Karua, Eugene Wamalwa, Raila Odinga, and finally Kalonzo Musyoka. And it says that the Daily Nation alleges that there was a plot by former President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is also the Azimio Council chairman, who is said to have made attempts to scuttle the talks, calling 2 meetings of the party's leading lights in Nairobi. That is what's here on the front page, as well as Odinga said that he has not read the report. And he said that he will give his promise to comment on it once he has read it. He spoke about it yesterday. Floods, Ruto to chair emergency cabinet meeting today as heavy rains wreak havoc countrywide. Gentlemen, I just want you to talk about this issue of the floods. Let's save this because it's also, again, on the front page of the Standard newspaper and the front page of the Standard newspaper. But as far as this is concerned, pretty fast, let me take you through the front page of the Star. Hot potato, all right? Talks team okays 2022 polls audit. That is what's on the front page of the Star newspaper. Hot potato, talks team okays 2022 poll audit. That is what we have here. We have got President says that he's going to actually make use and actually is going to take care of everything, that all the recommendations that were given by the team. And Azimio team leader Raila Odinga says that he is not yet read that particular report. He will give his stand on it later on. And finally, on the front page of the Standard, Dialogues report clash, almost the same thing. Whereas the president says that he will push for full implementation, some in his camp think that it's too expensive. The Azimio side is also split, with Martha Karua dismissing it. Now this is where the problem is. So who is going to blink first? President said, and I quote, all recommendations made by the bipartisan dialogue team are practical and good for the country. That is the president. He said that yesterday. What about Martha Karua? Any purported agreement that does not immediately impact on cost of living, electoral justice, and respect for multi-party democracy is a fraud. Gentlemen, I'm going to clamp up these 3 headlines in one, and you give me your point of it, starting with David. David, dialogue team clash. Hot potato, talks team, okay, 22 polls, and talks report splits Azimio. Go, David.
Thank you so much. From the beginning of this, we saw and we could predict who is for and who is against the bipartisan deal, because it's not a lie, it's not a secret that there is a government in place. And for some reason, we have forces who feel aggrieved that this government is in place. And so by the start of the bipartisan talks, we probably could have, we might have seen some factors feeling uncomfortable even starting the conversation. We saw the former Ndaragwa MP, Jeremiah Kioni, say these talks are useless. They are doing nothing important. So getting these infights, especially in Azimio camp, it will tell you that there were expectations, yes. There are people who are anticipating for something much better than what is being offered. But truth be told, you'd realize that possibly most of what is in this report is what the government, the Kenya Kwanza team wanted. Because one, there has been a recommendation to create the office, to have it enshrined in the Constitution, the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. And we all know that even before the talk started, the government had already created that post somehow. So it was needed. The Kenya Kwanza side needed that so much. Number two, even way before election, President Ruto, back then as a candidate, promised and said he would do everything possible to ensure that the person that loses in election gets a place as official opposition leader. And he was pushing so much for this to happen. And so getting this recommended for consideration by Parliament, again, I think it's a plus to Kenya Kwanza team. What I think, maybe I was just smiling, I was thinking, the poor ask, the Kenyans, who always clap for these bigwigs politicians when they are calling for demos and everything. We always end up being left outside and watching as things unravel, because now we have recommendation of creating office of opposition, official opposition leader, and 2 deputies, meaning the former Prime Minister will, if he accepts that is, and if it is passed in law, he becomes the official opposition leader. And then Martha Karua and Kalonzo Musyoka become his 2 deputies, and the rest left there to wait for 2027. So then you realize that we still have a problem of politics of deceit in Kenya, where we all rally behind someone and encourage, support them, but when there comes time for eating, wanakula wao sisi tukimeza mate. So the problem is that we have this, it is as good as sorted, and I'm telling you, you can watch this. It is going to be passed, this one, and it's going to work, because that is what they wanted. The rest of the things, election audit, expanding the committee that is recruiting IBC from 7 to 9, I don't think that has a lot of impact on us. We might not even benefit from it in any way. So you realize that the only thing that I see has happened here is increasing, giving senators money for oversight, MCS getting Ward Development Fund, NGCDF being enshrined in Constitution. You see, all these things were anticipated, but it is to whose advantage? To whose advantage? You realize that the big question is to whose advantage? Yeah. That is it.
I'm just trying to imagine the office of the opposition leader already in place. It's part of the recommendation. So what is it going to play more in terms of the political achievement, leave alone an individual? How is it going to change the political landscape? It's now office, it's now enshrined in the Constitution, it's in black and white. So how is it going to change the political landscape moving forward? Wakili?
Victor, it is going to change. Fundamentally, you realize we ended up at the National Dialogues Committee stage when we had a lot of demonstrations on the streets. What essentially this means is we want to sanitize our elections. So we want to sanitize our politics by having a proper and structured manner of us engaging politically. So the political contest is now going to be moved from the streets to the 2 parliaments. Yes. Whereby we have going, because you have, for example, as Alulu suggests, I don't know what makes him think that is going to be the structure, is that once we have the former Prime Minister, the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and Martha Karua being taken up, or whoever else who might be selected, then essentially these people will be government officials, because they will be sitting government opposition. They will be speaking in terms of opposition in parliament. So essentially the structured way of discussion will be able to happen within those ranks. And
okay, Your mic has a problem. Let me just fix that pretty fast. Okay, as we do that, let me take you through the front page of our international papers. Let me start with the BBC. This is what's on the front page of the BBC. Here we have it. Part of, 4-year-old girl among released Israeli hostages. That is what you have here. And now Hamas and Israel are now coming. Israel Gaza, 4-year-old girl among girl released hostages, and it's happening. It just members of different communities and actually different governments now are coming into making sure that hostages are freed. This is what's happening here, and allow me to just cross over that very fast. Part of the celebrations happening there. And of course, White House also said that they need these issues to be resolved amicably. President Joe Biden Sunday said that hostages released were the result of intensive U.S. diplomacy. U.S. said that it also has some hand there, adding that he was hopeful that more American hostages will be released in the coming days. 14 of the 17 hostages were Israeli and 3 of them were Thai nationals. 9 of the Israelis were children. So this is so far what is happening on the front page of the BBC. Very fast, let me come back home to, that is UK. Okay, let's come back home. Hopes Israeli-Hamas truce could be extended. This is what's there. And so far, this is what's happening. Hopes that Israeli-Hamas truce could be extended. It's about tears and hue and cry with so many families over there trying to get their families back home, and that is exactly what's happening. So, Released Palestinian describes Israeli detention as humiliating. Most of those people cannot stand that particular part. That is what you have. What about... Okay, let's go to France 24. What do you have on the front page of France 24? Almost the same thing. Israel says the 17 hostages, 39 Palestinians freed under truce deal. This is what you have. There we go. 17. There we have it. Israel said on Sunday that 17 hostages and 39 Palestinian detainees had been released in a third round of hostage for prisoner swaps on day 3 of fragile 4-day truce between Israel and Palestinian militant group Hamas. The news comes after Hamas' armed wing announced that the death of its top commander in northern Gaza, Ahmed al-Gandour, the group's highest-ranking casualty of the war with Israel. And so far, that is what's happening. So this is on the front page of France 24. Israel says that 17 hostages, 39 Palestinians freed under truce deal. Okay, let's come back home and see what's happening in Africa. All right, back home. Sierra Leone declares nationwide curfew after attack on Freetown Army Barracks. Hey, okay. Such things still happen. Attacks on barracks. This is what's happening here in Sierra Leone. Because they say that when your brother's house is on fire, please, your neighbors, you have to be careful. Sierra Leone's government said that it was in full control on Sunday evening after reporting a security breach by unidentified attackers at a military armory in the capital Freetown that sparked armed clashes. Gentlemen, that is what we have on the front page. But before we continue, we see what's happening here. Let me just go back home and talk about this. David, you know the history of David, the Israelites, and how does it affect you directly? As the name suggests.
Well, we need a better coexistence.
Yes.
And much has been said about Israel-Palestine, the Hamas war. I still feel there is a need for peace because there is an innocent child in Palestine, in Gaza Strip. There is an innocent child on the other side of Israel who is being affected by all this. So like White House says, I think we need a truce and a lasting solution so that there reign peace, because if there isn't peace, then somebody is being affected.
Yeah.
And just like you say, my name connects with Israel, you'd realize no king is a happy king when your people are suffering, either under war or sickness or whatever there might be. So peace reign in Israel.
Yeah.
I don't want to say like a friend once said that Israel is landless. I believe Israel is full of wealth and riches, but then they should try as much as possible to embrace that much as the other brother might be having issues, it is good to remember that your brother's children are not your brother. They are children who need your protection as well. So we need peace.
Yeah. Wakili, perhaps the world didn't expect this in 2023. I mean, nobody expected this to happen.
Yeah, the war was quite sudden, and I mean, it caught somebody like me off guard, because I don't imagine how Israel could have been caught off guard to the level that they could be able to suffer casualties the way they did. But then that is what it is, and now we are in a position whereby a lot of people have suffered. As David says, that we need peace, and we need peace like yesterday. All we need is concerted efforts for countries around the world to ensure that, to look into the situation keenly and stop pointing fingers, rather opt for reconciliatory messages which are going to ensure that we're going to have lasting peace in the Gaza Strip, and Israel and Palestine can coexist as two states. See, as it stands, the challenge there is that Israel does not recognize Palestine as a state, and many countries around the world do not. Even the United General, I don't think they have ratified the two. But the recommendations of a two-state nation, which should be followed through to ensure that there is coexistence of peace. When you have a neighbor who is being recognized and you are considered not to exist, then you do everything that there is, whether over the book or under the book, to ensure that you make your statement known. I don't know whether the attack on Israel was part of that, but that has resulted into serious collateral damage, which we do not need to have in this era.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we're taking a break, and we come back. I'm going to tell you about this, this courtesy of my 3 route. It says that there was an accident around just slopes from flyover towards Naivasha, and this was updated around by Amakanji Thomas around an hour ago, and I say that 5 people died this early this morning, as the rest are in critical condition. This is a matatu, I think, plying that particular route. It looks so grisly. This is courtesy of my 3 route. Please talk to us and tell us what's happening. All right, I think that was not necessary though, but this scene of the accident looks like probably it probably must have hit this lorry from behind, because that area is always very slopey. As you come towards flyover, heading towards towards how do you call it? That area, De La Mare. It's always very slopey, and people tend to. Yes,
that place is very dangerous.
Yeah, we have to be very careful. So far, 5 people are confirmed dead. That is according to Amakanji, but we'll need to get more information. According to road safety facts, speeding, low visibility, slippery road, terrible. H200 brakes was, I don't know, this could have been avoided. Drivers, please slow down. That is according to road safety facts. I think this...
Just move that up.
Yes. This one here?
There's a comment by Dr. Bira.
All right.
That one.
This one
Dr.
here?
Bira, the one above.
Bira said that I made to understand that the bridge connecting Sotik Kisii Highway is flooded. That must have been 9 hours ago. But Sotik Kisii, yeah, we'll... for people who use that route a bit. Okay, so let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to get more into that, and we also talk to us and tell us what is happening across the world, across the country, wherever you are, and the situation. Please, let's be careful. It's rainy. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Okay, so let's get straight into the discussion. So what are now the talk after the talks. So the dialogue team also released their report, actually not also, released their report last week, and now everybody is now talking about it. So gentlemen, allow me to ask this question. In as far as the report is concerned, one of the most important one is now the office of the official opposition leader, which David Alulu says that was long overdue. You saw it coming. But the question was, how is it going to solve the political crisis that we usually have after elections? Who is qualified to have this position? Because when you look at Azimio Brigade, we have people who are able, capable, men and women who are able to fit that crown pretty well. So let me start with you, David. Who do you think should be given this particular mantle in this office of the opposition leader?
Like Wakili was saying earlier, you'd realize that the office of the official opposition leader is a very powerful office in the Kenyan setup. And actually, it shall be funded by the Exchequer. So you realize it's a very lucrative office, by the way, and it has its own powers around it. So who qualifies for this office? I think the person who contested and lost election to the sitting president, or number 2 in election, should automatically qualify as the official opposition leader. In this situation, even though Wakili is surprised that I'm saying this, but in this case, you'll realize that Raila Odinga is the most qualified because, one, he was on the ballot last election, he became second, he lost election to William Ruto, and not unless he says he is not interested. And then that means it shall now be given to another person, probably who became number 3, maybe. That becomes Wajakoya. And then we see how it goes. But the person who loses election to the winner then become official opposition leader. What really surprised me is the proposal to have 2 deputies, 2 deputy opposition leaders. I don't know what that entails, but maybe it is a way of maybe getting everybody under control, so that we limit the amount of noise and shoutings that come out of the opposition. Because when people are idle, they shout a lot, they talk a lot of nonsense. But when people are busy doing something, they concentrate on the responsibilities that they have been given. So you'd realize that by creating this office, the government is systematically trying to get the noisy opposition to calm down, and then now concentrate on opposing what is not right with the government. And me, I think I've seen Honorable Raila Odinga doing it very well. Actually, in the recent days, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 days ago, when I saw the former Prime Minister talking seriously about some things that are happening in the government. And to me, I was seeing an official opposition leader addressing the government that is probably not doing as he expects. So to me, it is a way of, number 1, getting a lot of noise down, and then number 2, getting to acknowledge that, yes, Gibson, you might have lost the election, but it does not mean you are irrelevant. You still have something that you can offer the country. And that thing that you can offer the country, why not we give you an office that you continue offering it, even though, opposition is an alternative government. Opposition is there to make sure they are checking the government, and should the government fail, this opposition can occupy the government and run the government. So to me, I think it's a good proposal. I think it should be embraced, and actually the parliament should hurry to get this thing done so that we get it going.
Okay, when you look at that the proposals, the person who is going to be in that position as the official opposition leader will either work as per the coalition's rules and guidelines, and not necessarily as per the constitution. So does it mean that you will be there under the whim of your coalition or the party that sponsored you to be in that position? Number 2, Gibson, if Azimio decides that they are going to pick anybody apart from Raila Odinga, do you think it can still play that particular role as supposed to be?
Whichever way they decide, Victor, I think it's still going to look like that is the understanding. Because if Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is not interested and they nominate someone else, then essentially now there will be, of course, a political question, whether that is actually a legal question, whether that is correct, because it's the person who lost. So it's Raila who lost, as David Aluru has put it. What I don't agree with him is that if I lose, I've not run for an election. And if I run, I'm sure I'm going to win, not to lose. So whoever loses, the law anticipates that it's the person who's going to take that position. So the aspect of nominating someone else is a question which has to be sorted, either a legal or political question, which is going to be sorted at that particular time if they decide to nominate someone else. So essentially, I think the whole architecture has been crafted in a manner to take care of the people who can really cause a lot of problems for the Kenya Kwanza government. And this is from where I stand, something I can be able to refer to as political tokenism, which is really a very wise move on the side of Kenya Kwanza to have given into that. I don't know how those discussions went when they were discussing that. Or it was just a welcome move that finally we are going to get 3 Azimio people out of the streets and we're going to put them into office where they will be answerable and benefiting from the exchequer. And you know, that really means a lot for some people, especially politicians after elections. So when we look at it, I think, as I said earlier, is that we are trying to sanitize our politics to ensure that we move from the streets. We have all the key decision makers in the opposition come to parliament so that they can be able to debate the issues, be able to raise these issues, especially the issue of the cost of living. You still realize that up to now, some leaders in the opposition are still saying they do not recognize the report because it does not handle the issue of the cost of living, which essentially even me, I felt like it not tackle anything much to solve the issues of Kenya as the situation stands. More or less, it's solving the political crisis we have. But the economic crisis, nothing to take home. Or
look at it this way. So does it mean that the president was right when he said that he's going to make sure that hakutakuwa na maandamano tena katika nchi hii? One, if David is the presidential candidate, he wins, and I, come second. So I will not have any reason to go to the street because I know my office is there, constitutionally funded by the taxpayers' money. I have a constitutional office, fully kitted, fully funded, and I know that even if I lose an election, I have an office there waiting for me. Do you think that is now the whole scenario, apart from oversight and doing the checks and balances and making government on toes? The whole aspect is to get people out of the streets once and for all. David?
Yeah, the president was, President Ruto is one smart and genius man. I love the way he makes his calculations. And this one, I think he was very right when he said he's going to make sure there is no... And the first person to actually comment on the report was President Ruto himself, when he said, I am happy the report is here. I'm going to support it. I'm going to make sure it is fully implemented. So, so this gentleman is telling you that this is what we've been waiting for, so that we can get this thing done with immediately and proceed. Maybe what I think needs to be done, there need to be some sort of order and discipline. The question you asked about the coalition and the person, you'd realize that if we go by what politics is about, you do not consider coalition a candidate. You consider an individual. Like Kenya Kwanza had one candidate in the name of William Ruto. And then Azimio also had one candidate in the name of Raila Odinga. So I don't see any sense in, for example, Azimio sitting down and say, now we need to do some sort of election to decide who is going to occupy that office. I think the law should be very clear on this one, and where there seems to be confusion, some people might want to seek a clarification on this one, so that it is well understood that the person that occupies this office should be a candidate that vied, and then lost election, became second, and in a situation where second is not interested, then the third, and that's why the name Wajakoya comes in. But to make the matter worse, Wajakoya also has joined Azimio.
Yes.
He works with Azimio. And then the number 4 got a job in government. So eventually we have nobody to occupy that office. But in a way, it is going to help people know that even if I lost this election, I'm still going to have my office. I'm going to have some sort of powers to try and do things. Like I said earlier, opposition is an alternative government. And if it is an alternative government, whoever is occupying that office occupies knowing that there is a lot of expectation from the public and even the government, because you are now coming in to earn a salary, you are going to enjoy security, utafunguliwa barabara when there is traffic jam, those people shout with the sirens around and you pass. So official opposition leader in the making, once you know you are losing, you have no reason to complain. You have no reason even to start organizing people to go on mandamano. Because
does that really snatch away your rights to complain, or if you feel that's an injustice being done to you?
But you see, in this report, they have also said, so that they avoid the hurriedly hearing and determination of election petition from 14 days to 21 days.
Exactly.
That means there is still a room. If you feel aggrieved, you can still go to the Supreme Court, and then the Maraga scenario can happen, and you go back to election. If you lose the second time, then don't go back to court. Come and occupy your office.
I get it. Okay.
I think I will wish to just add to what he's saying. There's also something interesting which has been brought in there. The aspect of an independent body to be in charge of political parties, so that we do away with the office of the registrar of political parties. So essentially, some of the recommendations as I see is to administer the funds which are given to the parties who have participated in election. Essentially what that means, once the opposition takes up their official opposition party, they are going to choose their own cabinet, the shadow cabinet. So once they are given these monies, the shadow cabinet, and they will be operating like a government in waiting, save for the fact that they will not be in government. Essentially, this money is once dispersed, the shadow ministers will be able to have a kitty to do research and to offer counter proposals or counter policies to government. So, for example, if the Minister of Agriculture is telling us we're going to get maize from Zimbabwe or Zambia, then the shadow minister should be able to come up with a better proposal which is well researched, which can be able to counter the government. And this should be taken to Parliament for purposes of debating. Essentially, our politics, that's what I'm saying. I'm seeing a situation where politics is going to be sanitized and is going to be ideological based and policy based, as opposed to being what it is, where we have people throwing stones in the streets, jumping up and down. That does not mean that that is taken away, because that's a constitutional right equally. So that still will be practiced, but most of the issues, most of the issues, most of the issues are still going to be debated in a very structured manner. Throwing stones is not constitutional, but picketing and demonstration is only that our demonstrations also have an aspect of throwing stones.
Okay. Let's talk about the issue of the Senate Oversight Fund. I mean, this must be a very good point for senators, because for a very long time they say they don't have money to do oversight to the counties and what have you. But right now we have got that Ward Development Fund and NGCDF. I mean, MCAs are also our pilots at the end of the day. David?
Yeah, I think Kenyan politics is becoming more lucrative. It's becoming more lucrative.
Somebody would say, don't shout.
And from the look of things, this will now make it even more competitive, because you see, the other day somebody was telling me, I don't know if you qualify to be a senator. I said, no, I don't want to be a senator because it doesn't have money. But now I can think about it.
You can fit right in.
So, creating this fund, I think, is especially for the Senate, it's called Senate what?
Oversight
Fund.
Yes.
To me, I think it's a good idea. It's a good proposal. Why? A senator is supposed to be oversighting, making sure that the resources at the county government is being utilized. But then you have a broke senator who goes to see governor, and he's expecting maybe governor to give him some cup of coffee, so they talk over these issues. But with an oversight fund in place, then the senator has the power, because constitutionally, senator is supposed to be more powerful than governor, because it is senator who determines how much money goes to the county, how is it utilized, and all these. If the county fails, the Senate has the power. Actually, we've seen the cases of Kawira Mwangaza, where when the governor fails, they are taken to the Senate, and the Senate has the final say. If they save you, you are safe. If they send you home, you go home. So it is a welcome move. To me, I think it's one of the best ideas that will help make our devolved system of governance work, because now if the man who is more like a prefect of the devolution has resources, then it makes work easier for them. I have a problem with the Ward Development Fund. Because it seems like now we shall be manipulating almost everything, because now we have Senate, they'll have Senate oversight fund. We have GAF for women reps. We have NGCDF for MPs, and now Ward Development Fund for MCS. We shall have so many manipulation. I think there need to be a clarification of what can a Ward Development Fund do, and what should NGCDF do, and what should NGAF do. You see, something of that. It has not been made clearer, even from the word go, what roles these funds are playing. So much as we need these monies down there to go and work, because the welcome move is that money is going down to the people. But how are these funds going to be utilized? Is it another avenue for corruption? Is it another room for fake tenders among us, the cronies around the MCAs and the local leaders? Or how are we going to manage it? So I think we need a better clarification on how these monies shall be managed, and of most importance, how they shall serve the people.
And by and large, to avoid duplication of duties and roles for the senators, MCS and others. Okay.
I think to just come in on what Lulu is talking about, we do have a serious constitutional challenge in these particular issues of administration of these funds. I do support the funds to the senators, because it's really needed, because sometimes I think they say that they do not have capacity to even audit a governor, because you find that there are several projects going on and they do not have resources to go and actually check which project. And then the Senate, the governors, when they come to the Senate, they come with voluminous documents, which these people are not able to, in their own capacity, to go through them and then ask proper questions for oversight. And some of the reports, I think as one of the senators was putting it, some of the reports which they are auditing are reports which are 3-4 years back. Essentially, somebody might have left office. If this fund is given to them, they can be able to actually monitor these projects as they are ongoing, and then be able to ask these governors to come and answer the questions right on the spot, instead of asking somebody who left office several years ago, or somebody to answer questions for somebody who left office. That is where they are not able to catch the corruption as it's happening. So that is, I think, something which is welcome. The challenge now comes in as to the administration of the ward fund, which is going to be issued. I hope they will have to come with very clear guidelines that the MCS will not be the people to actually be able to expend these monies. It should be given to someone else, so that the MCS just act as oversight. That will make much more sense, because we have the challenge, especially with the CDF, which has now been changed into NGCDF, but that fund still is unconstitutional as it stands, because you cannot be the person oversighting and then be the one person expending. You allocate resources to yourself so that you can be able to use them. So we allocate your resources from the National Assembly. Just before you go to the ground, the resources find you there to use them. So that goes against the principle of accountability and separation of powers. So we need to find a way. The court has been able to be very clear about that, but the MPs have been always found a clever way of going around the decision of the court. And I hope Alulu, when he makes it with either of these houses, he will not be one of the people supporting it. He should be very patriotic and be able to stand and say that they cannot be able to take this NGCDF money till that fund is clearly either they take it to the governors to administer it through the ward fund or something of the sort. So that now we also talk of members of parliament receiving an oversight fund to oversight whatever projects which are happening down on the ground, so that we don't have somebody who is supposed to be checking is also the one spending. So that is something which we need to work around to make sure that we have sanity.
Okay. There's that aspect of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. So where does this leave Mudavadi, so to speak? Prime Cabinet Secretary. So are we going to have two Prime Cabinet Secretaries in office, or that office of Musalia Mudavadi is now going to be fully enshrined and entrenched in the Constitution?
I don't think there is going to be another. What happened?
But this is going to be fully now rooted in the Constitution.
What is happening today, we don't have that office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. So today, if you asked Musalia Mudavadi, who are you in this government? He's just like any other Cabinet Secretary. It is only the title.
He's actually the Minister for Foreign Affairs right now.
Yeah, that is all.
Yeah.
It's only that they have decorated and sugar-coated it, called it Prime and looking so superior, but in reality, there is no functions to that office constitutionally. So what Kenya Kwanza needed is now to have this enshrined in Constitution, and then the powers for Prime Cabinet Secretary probably will be like that of a Prime Minister in any other jurisdiction, and so making it now as a point of Kenya having a fully fledged Prime Minister, but now in the name of Prime Cabinet Secretary, who is more like the head boy for the rest of the cabinet ministers, which to me I think it's also a good idea. It will make the occupant of that office, because it won't be Musalia forever. It will make the occupant of that office get to know that they also have some respect across the board.
Yeah.
And so there isn't going to be two. It's just one who must now be enshrined in Constitution. Yes.
We have this office of the oversight, political parties, to oversight on political parties fidelity. How is it going to play around? Because at the end of the day, when you look at the office of registered political parties, so does it mean that some of the powers are going to be snatched from that office and given now fully to that oversight office? Wakili?
I think essentially they want to either do away with that particular office so that we have an independent office which deals with the administration of the funds which are given to political parties. Because there's been a debate around that, and I think the office, if there is an office which I feel is very weak, is the office of the Registrar of Political Parties. That office needs to be emboldened. There needs to be, because there has been some challenges. That's why I think they felt that they should come up with a new office for oversight of political parties to ensure that there's also, you see, we have also a political issue. For example, when Kenya Kwanza came into government, of course they won, but they did not have the numbers.
Yes.
So we saw some other parties, even which had standing memorandums with the opposition party, still moving, even past the election, which was not supposed to be very clear. So if we are going to have an office which is going to rein in and be able to check in terms of this, then we can be able to be sure, because when you come to power, you need to come with your numbers. You don't start amending your numbers when you have taken power, and that becomes a bit of a gray area. So I hope one of the things this independent political parties oversight is to ensure and put very clear rules that what happens in such a situation, so that we are able to actually be able to know who has the numbers and who does not have the numbers. That is one. The other issue is the administration of the monies which are dispensed to political parties. Sometimes it delays, and we don't have anybody to explain to us why it's delaying. And this is what I've said, that now it will, of course, cause challenges in terms of the opposition organizing. Remember, after elections, opposition is vanquished. They do not have the money. They do not join government so that they start getting salaries. So these monies will come in handy in terms of helping them to form a shadow cabinet immediately, to start oversighting government immediately.
Party hopping. from we've seen.
Essentially, that's one of the things
hopping.
which is supposed to be that's one of the roles which the oversight, I expect the oversight political parties office to actually be able to rein in on, because that is a very big challenge.
Okay, all right. Wait, let's take a break. But before that, David, someone is sending a message here, and I'm not, probably you may know him or not. He's saying that David is talking as if he's going for a political seat. Akuje tungangane naye kwa kiwa.
They have seen him coming.
They've seen you, David. They've seen you that
you can't hide in the
I think because of that statement you said that it's going to be lucrative. It is. So someone is saying that amekuona kumbali. You come, mungangane kwa kiwanja.
It is lucrative.
Let's take a break and we come back. We're still going to continue this discussion. We still need to, to crunch those numbers, some of the recommendations given by the Bipartisan Talks team. And the big one, they did not agree on the, high cost of living. Why? Political? Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more. Stay with us. All right, and welcome back. Now, there's this photo here. David, what makes you guys are so happy? You look so happy here in this photo. Let me come this side so that there you go. That is David Alulu, and sorry, you look so happy, gentlemen.
Me, I'm happy because, like I said, you see, politicians are being taken care of very, very well. And Gisoro here is saying he might consider something as we move on, and that made me happy. Really happy.
In Nyamira.
Yeah, he might consider something.
Or in Kisii County.
That really makes me happy. Lakini sawa tu hata kama hakuna chai lakini it is good.
I saw that coming. All right, gentlemen, let's finalize as we come to the close of this discussion. All right, so there is that bit of the increase, the issue of electoral justice. Wakili, this one will come directly to you. To increase the number of appeal at the court of the Supreme Court.
The days.
Yeah, the days from 14 to 21. What do you really think ran through the minds of the talks team to increase the days?
Victor, that has been a debate right from the very first Supreme Court hearing we had on elections
because of the
2013.
workload.
Because of the workload and putting in place the documentation, especially on the side of the people going to file their documents. You also realize that it also becomes a challenge for the court itself, because it has very limited time to canvass through the evidence and then be able to write a proper or a well-reasoned judgment. Like in 2013, you saw the judgment came, I don't know, several days later because they were not able to write it at that particular time. There's also the challenge of filing the proper documents. Some of the documents, moving them across the country, you need a lot of resources, you need a lot of advocates. For example, to tell you where the 2017 petition succeeded, it's because the opposition was well organized, or the party which lost was well organized. They deployed advocates across the country. And you know how costly that can be, so that they can be able to be taking evidence as it happens. So you are anticipating of a challenge. You are running for an election at the same time anticipating a problem, so that you can be able to use this as evidence. So that, of course, it should not be the case. Instead of, you should be allowed to run an election and be able to expect to win. So if there are challenges of loss, it should be able to be dealt with after. But now, this is an issue where you have to go to an election, you have to have agents, and then you have to have advocates on the ground, on the side, who are going to of course, be able to ensure that, I'm told the Uhuru side also already had a serious legal team analyzing elections in 2013. So that's where they managed to put whatever defense they put in the court, and they ensured they have won. So, and then come 2017, the Raila side also did the same by fielding advocates to the ground, so that they are well prepared. So you can see the kind of situations of distrust and preparedness which goes into this. But if you have 21 days, which is also slightly very few days, is just to allow time for filing and putting evidence in order, so that you can be able to, even have the court also have enough time to write a proper and well-reasoned judgment, which does it come out and everybody says, wait a minute, was this meant for this, or you just imagined something? So this goes to helping the court and even the litigants to ensure that they do a good job, which at the end of the day, everybody should be satisfied.
I think this is a move that almost even the courts will agree with this one.
Yes,
the
yes,
workload.
yes.
You can imagine you want to get, an evidence all the way from Mandera, and you have to bring it in Nairobi in hard copies and what have you. So, Alolo, I think we just leave it at that. But the big one is now the audit of the 2022 general election, and they've agreed that they are going to do that. But is it really going to happen? I mean, I'm approaching this with who is going to open the servers? Where are the servers? Are they in the cloud? Where are they? The audit of the 2022 polls.
I'm sorry to say this, but I think sometimes for things to get moving, you have to say yes, so that you agree and start moving. It might take time. Even if it would happen, maybe it might take time, because there are a few other things that needs to be done to actualize that need of opening the servers and checking whatever it is that the opposition want to check. But moving forward, I think it is also important to know that where politicians are sitting, it is hard for people to just have a clear consensus on something. Somebody will try to find a reason to make things complicated for the other. So yeah, let's see how it goes. But I really don't see a scenario where we are going to see many people going to anniversary towers tomorrow for the servers to be open and something done. It might take some time, and probably there are some few legal factors, because actually during the petition, during the presidential petitions last time, they were given access to servers, but then there came a letter which said you can only be given limited access, and they gave their own reasons. Then it means for that to happen again, there is an aspect of law, the legal part of it. How is it going to be covered, and how it shall be taken care of? So it requires patience, it requires dedication, and above all, Kenya is a political country, and anything is possible.
Now that you're still there, I want you to give me your final remarks, because you're coming to a close. But the big issue, I wish we had enough time to go through all of them, but the issue is the cost of living. They differed on VAT, and the issue of that's from 16 to 8%. They did not agree on that. And then lastly, to scrap the controversial housing levy in totality. They did not agree on that. Just as your closing remarks as you come toward that, then Wakili, you'll complete that for me.
I think the Kenya Kwanza team was very categorical and very clear from the word go. When the opposition started saying we will not sign if there is no cost of living, if this and this happens. I remember the majority leader for Senate, Cheruiyot, saying things that you cannot touch. Number one, housing levy. That one you will not touch even if you want. So that was sending a very strong signal. But again, to me, I don't think this team was serious about the cost of living. I'm sorry to say that. I don't think the bipartisan team, the NADCO committee, was sensitive enough to look at this agenda of cost of living with a sober eye, because things that you are bringing, the recommendation of saying cut the international travel cost with 50% and then cut the allowances with 30%, that will not help lowering the cost of living. In Kenya, we know you will tell them don't use this money for this, they'll invent something else to use that money for, and eventually that money will.
And remember, this is now the biggest contention here. Martha Karua says that if there is nothing to do with cost of living, then it's a fraud. According to her, it's a fraud.
So you realize, I don't think the committee gave it the attention it deserves, unfortunately. But again, it is hard to tell the government, that is so dedicated to making sure they progress their agenda, to tell them to cut the VAT to this and stop the levy and this and that. So it might require patience, like the president puts it, for us to see what he's doing. He has achieved one with the ugali. Now ugali is going for 130 shillings. So I believe with time things will get better. But the NADCO, I think, failed Kenyans on this one, the cost of living. It is clear it was all about politics. Once the politicians get their deal, the rest can wait.
Out of 10, your rating?
To the NADCO?
Yes. 10.
Out of 10, I think I'll give them 5.
David, and
Yes.
you want to be, okay, I don't want to say.
I'll give them 5.
All right, yes, Wakili.
On the aspect of the cost of living, I will give them a strong 4, given that, I mean, everybody agrees that on that part they feel, but generally I will give them a 6 because of the political issues which they will have solved and the way they have purported to organize the politics of the country. I think that will we give it a very good score of a 6. Yes.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. We still have a lot more to talk about in the coming days. Allow me to stop it at that particular point. Wakili, I'm told that you also need to rush somewhere. But as always, thank you so much for passing by. And you as a viewer, asante sana for watching. But before you leave, there is a tweet here. Governor Sakaja, if you're watching, and Waziri Murkomen, this is from Triple Bill. He says that along Links Road, next to Links Plaza, there is an Oxbow Lake. If you know your geography very well, an Oxbow Lake there. Governor Sakaja, please send boats. And send boats.
Nasir in Mombasa, not Sakaja.
Yes, Nasir. Nasir, this is Nasir, please send boats. Someone seems to have blocked waterways. Kipchumba Murkomen, angalia hiyo mambo. This is what it looks like. So
they need boats.
This is what it looks like a full view of an Oxbow Lake along Links Road.
The good thing with Mombasa, I think they have plenty of boats on the standby because of the ocean.
Somebody can just donate this
they
one.
can donate some.
Okay, that's what is happening. I believe that somebody is going to be watching this one. And just an update, an hour ago, 5 people died this morning. As we told you, there was an accident along the flyover. We can only say that, you guys, let's just be careful. The long race is going to be here with us for a very long time to come. And we need to cross over to 2024. We've had a very rough couple of years as a nation. All right, that's where we wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. You know, the show was Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for being a part of the show. My name is Victor Lo. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.